republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And we are back once again into Saturday afternoon, and I am tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And joining me today is the one, the only Mr. Tiger Schultz is back with us today. He's a I don't know. I don't know if anyone calls for you to be here. I don't know if you got this fan base, but I sure enjoy having you here.
Well, I like being on it too, and I don't care if anybody else likes it or not. Me and you have a good time.
Nobody calls for me to be on here either, so don't feel bad.
That's right.
I was explaining to my son today. Spent some quality time with quality. We were moving firewood. He didn't want to be there. He's 16. And he'd rather be sleeping. But I was talking to him, and he goes, "You got your podcast today? Don't we have to get back so you can do that?" I said, "Dude, it's 9:00 in the morning. Calm down. We've got a little while." And
that's right.
And he goes, so he doesn't listen to it, right? I mean, he's like, so does anyone like listen to that? And do they complain about what you talk about? And I'm like, well, I don't know. And if they do, I just tell them they get double their money back. I mean, it's not like I'm charging them for this thing. So it's a pretty damn good guarantee.
That's right. That's right. That's what I tell my kids whenever they do something. Hey, I'm going to double your pay.
Yeah, exactly.
You get to live here for free twice.
That's exactly. And I was telling him that as he didn't want to help me today. I was like, he's like, what are you going to do if I just left? Because he drove himself, and I'm like, I don't know. You use a lot of electricity for your fish tanks. You love your fish tanks. Man, you have a place to sleep, and we provide power, and we let you sleep in most of the time. I said, we don't have to do that. He goes, Mom will let me. Anyhow, just wait. Your kids will get older, man. Just wait.
It's already started. My youngest is 6 going on 16, so it's a thing. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. So what has Tiger been up to lately? I know you had some pretty big news. You graduated, right?
I graduated grad school. Yeah, I got my master's from Johns Hopkins, so I'm done with that.
Congrats.
I've been catching up on. Thank you. I've been catching up on some much needed sleep, some much needed projects around the house. When you were talking a little bit there off air, getting back into my fitness routines and trying to not eat my weight in sugar every day, just to stay awake.
Stay awake.
Yeah, just for energy. Doing some firearm stuff. I actually I've picked up a couple of new guns in the last couple of weeks.
What'd you get?
So that's I won in a raffle, which is awesome. Glock 40, so it's the long slide 10 mil. It was the MOS version. I had a Holosun laying around, so I threw it on there. Had an old holster that I had from when I had a Glock 40 years ago. Threw it. So I have a $35 Glock. It's just and it actually
Beautiful.
came with 300 rounds of ammo, and I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Oh well, yeah, for sure.
And then a buddy of mine, he messaged me the other day. He's like, man, I need a little bit of money. Anybody looking for a 22? And I was like, I don't know, what kind? He sent me a picture. It was it's a real basic wood stocked 10-22. It's got a cheap Nico Sterling scope or something on top of it, whatever it is.
Survival gun.
And just a good basic, 10-22, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, what for it? And he goes, I'd take $200 for it. And I'm like, well, any 10-22 is worth $200.
Oh, easy, yeah.
I'm like, I'll buy that, and I don't know if I'm going to keep it or sell it or what, but I thought, what the hell,
That's the one you put in the barrel filled full of cosmoline you bury in the woods.
You're right. Yeah. That's exactly that's the thing and I took it out and I shot it the other day and it shoots good. It's just a 10-22, it's funny because I rewatched all of the Top Shot seasons, several months ago. Over my lunch break, I would throw Top Shot on and I rewatched them all. And the first season they had, first or second season, they had, a 10-22 challenge. And they were talking about it, and they're like, this is, marksmanship at its basics. If you give a couple of guys 10-22s and put up bottle caps or quarters or, playing cards or whatever it is, eventually somebody's going to miss, and you're going to know who's the better marksman. Like, this is it, right?
Now I need one of these. I don't have a 10-22. I've shot them. I just don't have one.
Well, and I didn't need, I've had several over the years, but I didn't have one currently.
Right.
And it really is. It's just a great little plinker. I mean, it's just a good little rifle. You can hunt squirrels with it or shoot pop cans or whatever you want to do with it.
Right. $220. Mail it to me.
Well, I don't know about that. Hell, mailing a gun anymore is about $40. Shipping again.
Okay, $240.
No. I hang on to it.
We're just gonna have you break. We're gonna have you break even.
Tell you what, you come to Zombie and I'll sell it to you for $240.
Oh, but do you know how expensive it's going to be to get to Zombie or go anywhere in a few months?
Oh, I do. Gas here is $5.19 a gallon.
I think we're at like $5.10 as of today.
Yeah, yesterday was the breakover point, and I told Hannah, I said, well, it's going to be up to $5.99 pretty soon.
Oh,
and she said, why? I was like, well, it's that first number, right? That's the psychological breaking point.
Yep.
Like, we stayed under $4 forever, and then once we broke over $4, well, now we're at $4.99. And then now once we broke over $5, it may not even stop at $6. It may go to $7 or $8.
Yeah, people focus on that whole number, and
yeah, right.
Well, it's the sliding scale, right? It's the Overton window. I mean, they're gonna, this may jump up to $6-7 a gallon. We're gonna be beside ourselves. We're gonna complain. They're gonna drop it back down to $5.99, and everyone's gonna go, man, I'm glad that came down. And then we're never gonna see anything below that again.
Right? Yeah. Or if they were to drop it to $3 a gallon right now, people would rejoice, and that's still twice as much as it needs to be.
You just be thankful that you don't have your Scout finished.
Well, yeah, except so I bought a Samurai to be an everyday driver because my truck drinks gas like the Scout does.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten the Samurai up and rolling yet. It needs tail lights, and I need to change out the tires and do a couple other things. But mainly the tail lights, because once I get that, then I can get it registered and inspected and all that. But it's like, yeah. It's killing me. Driving this truck back and forth to work is killing me.
I know. I have a truck to drive. I mean, I don't even know what it gets, but it's got to get 15, maybe 14, 15, right?
That's what mine gets. Yeah, 15.
An old Chevy truck. It's killing me too a little bit, but then I try to drive that Scout at least once a week or once every couple weeks, and that thing just drinks the fuel. It's amazing.
Right.
It's just geared horribly, and I love it. I'll never change it, but. It's just, I mean, you're going down the road at 60 miles an hour and you're like 3,500 RPM and you're like, oh my God, dude, I'm just sucking the fuel.
Just screaming. Well, that's the thing. That Samurai too is geared real low, but it's a 4-banger, right? Like it's going to get 20 miles a gallon. So.
Yeah, exactly. I got my kid a Scout. He fixed it all up, and then he went and bought himself a Honda Accord.
Right, yeah. Like I'm kind of regretting that I sold the Baja, because it got 25. Like,
yeah. So I don't know, man. Fuel prices, and I don't want to have to, cut into my ammo allowance.
Well, yeah, that's.
But I just did order more ammo last night. So.
Did you? I broke down, and they weren't even for me. A buddy of mine, he wants me to reload some 223 for him, and he sent bullets and he sent brass, and I told him that I had powder, that I'd charge him for, but this and that and the other. But nobody had primers, and we were waiting on primers for over a year. And finally, the other day, I caught them in stock, and I texted him. I said, "Hey, they're going to be like 12 to 13 cents a primer after shipping." He's like, "Yeah, buy them anyways." He said, "I'm tired." He said, "It's better than throwing bullets at people." And I said, "Well, okay."
Yeah. How much is 9mm ammo your direction?
I saw some in the store the other day. Like it was $22 a box of 50 for the cheap stuff.
Really? That's still high. That's high.
Yeah, it's real high. I might have seen some for like $19.99.
I can buy it online. Granted, you got to pay a little shipping. I can buy it online right now, like Remand stuff, for for $14 a 50.
Yeah, right, and that's I haven't bought any 9mm in a long time because I reload it.
Well, I do too, but I buy it when it's cheap, and even 14's not cheap. It's cheap for now, but I try to just keep. I try to purchase anywhere, and I'll shoot it right. I mean, I don't let my students or anyone shoot my reloads. Right. But I try to buy anywhere from 2,000 to at least 2,000 to 4,000 rounds of it a year.
Oh yeah. But that's the thing. Like, I haven't bought 9mm in forever because I've got like 3,000 or 4,000 rounds sitting downstairs that I haven't shot in a year. Like it, but yeah, it's I don't know, rifle ammo, 6.5 and 6mm arc, and all the hot shot rounds that I've decided I like to shoot are through the roof. And
yeah,
so.
Well, I'm afraid there might be another run on at least 9mm after Biden's comments. It just sometimes that stuff starts out and people are like, no, it'll be okay, there won't be, and all of a sudden you look and it's all gone. So I told my wife, I just got to get 1,000 rounds and just to order it and just keep an eye on it because it may just disappear overnight again.
Well, yeah, and that's part of the problem too. Is people think, well, it's going to disappear, so I better get some, and then that's kind of a self-fulfilling.
Are you saying that I'm part of the problem, Tiger?
You are part of the problem, Todd.
We're all part of the problem.
We are, but it's okay, right? Like, as long as you're shooting it.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing that gets me. Like, people who buy, like, I know one guy back, I don't know, 2020, right before this last ammo crunch really, really hit.
Yeah.
He kind of saw the writing on the wall and yada, yada, yada. And he went out and he bought like 35,000 rounds of ammunition.
Good for him.
And I bet, well, the problem is I bet that if I went to his house today, he probably still has 34,000 rounds of it.
He probably has 36,000 rounds.
Yeah, right. Like, he's probably like, and I'm like, dude, like, it's fine, right? If, like another buddy of mine, he's a competitive shooter. He's sponsored. He shoots like 12,000 rounds a year of 9mm.
Right.
Like that's his practice and competition and all of it, and just plinking and having fun. Like, and I'm like, okay, you need to buy 12,000 rounds a year. Like, that's a reasonable thing for you.
Right.
And but. Although he switched to 22 here last year because he went to he got into precision 22 shooting, and
a friend of mine in up in Utah. Well, you've talked to him, Levi. He was on the So he was just getting into it when we had you guys on the podcast together, and he is I see pictures on like Instagram all the time. He's like up there in Utah, whatever they call it the farm or whatever, and he's just out there with that 22, whatever that rifle is that he has, and he's just out there shooting the crap out of that stuff. He loves it.
Well, I've got that little bolt action 22 that I shoot the shit out of it. Like, that's probably my favorite gun to shoot because, like the other day, I was shooting paracord. Like, where I'd hung a target,
right,
and then had cut the target down at some point. Like, I was shooting the swaying paracord.
Right.
Like, that's at 50 yards, right? Like, that was my 50-yard target.
Yeah,
and that's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun to do stuff like that.
No, it is. I mean, I don't get back that far. My favorite 22 that it's my kids. I really like their stupid little cricket. That thing, that little peep sight, that thing's a blast.
Oh yeah,
that thing is just
are awesome.
Little tiny, way too short for me, man. I've punched holes in all kinds of targets and paper, and I've taken out so many birds that were a problem. We'll just leave it at that. Birds that were a problem with that little 22. That thing is amazing. And then when it's time to like butcher the chickens, that thing comes in really handy.
For sure.
I go prone with it in the yard, aiming at I pick them off. It's great.
That's the way. It's something like, and that's what I tell people. Like I've shot, I've shot all the big guns, right? And I would rather have I've got a little lever action. Actually, I've got a couple of lever action 22s, Henrys, and I would rather have a table full of Henrys and bolt action 22s and maybe a couple of 10-22s for some speed shooting and a Taurus TX 22.
Oh, yes. Yes.
A table full of rimfire guns and 5,000 rounds of ammo. And I can spend I could just spend hours outside just planking. Like, honestly, that's just so much fun.
They're unstoppable. I mean, they just go forever, and people get so sick of me hearing, is that the Taurus, the TX20? Man, fantastic gun. I've had mine, I think, for like 3 years now. Never cleaned it. And it doesn't stop running. Never.
No. Well, that's the same thing with my that one Henry that I've got. Of course, it's a rifle, lever action rifle, and Dad bought it for me when I was 13.
Yeah.
And I've probably got 40 or 50,000 rounds through it at this point.
Oh man.
And I literally took it apart to clean it for the first time last year.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm 35, 40,000 rounds into it at this point. And the only reason I took it apart to clean it was because a 22 shell had chunked off a piece of brass and I could feel it like under the bolt. Like you could tell where there was a little hitch.
It was gritty. Yeah.
Yeah, like where it had been butter smooth before, there was a little hitch, and I was like, okay. And I took it apart, cleaned it in like 20 minutes, threw it in the ultrasonic, oiled it up, put it back together, and I haven't touched it since. Like I haven't messed with it since. I've shot it, but
right.
And it's I tell people that's a great gun for kids to learn on because there's no mechanical safety. Like,
yeah.
There's nothing to rely on except you not pulling the trigger.
Well, it's kind of the same way with the cricket, really. I mean, you load it and then you pull. I know there's a different versions. You load it and then you pull that lever back on the back of the bolt, and that pretty much cocks it. And it's like you've got to keep your finger off that trigger, or that sucker's going to go.
Right.
It's got a pretty light little trigger too.
Yeah. I've bought a couple of crickets for babies. Whenever kids and my buddies are bored, I'll go out and spend the $130 or whatever it is. Nobody should come into this world unarmed. I tell them, and I hand them a cricket, and they look at me like I'm out of my mind. But
yeah.
I'm like, hey, here's a gun for your kid. Like, have fun,
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. Well, hey, since you're kind of more of a rifle guy than me, I have got I'll throw this out there. I haven't done a whole lot of research on it. I mean, I've heard of the round before. And I really don't know actually the model and the model and like manufacturer of this rifle. This lady brought this rifle. It's nice condition. I mean, it's no rust. It's a 257 Roberts. What do you know about that caliber? What do you know about that round?
Well, it's kind of an interesting round. So for a while, what they called quarter bore, which was that 257 caliber rifles, were really popular. They make great hunting guns, because they're just a step up from 22s like 223, right, or 222 Swift or any of that. But they don't have even the recoil of a 243, right?
Oh, really?
So
okay.
Super light recoil impulse, and it's a very high speed round,
so
which all of them are, right?
It'd be good for like deer or like antelope. Probably not. With a well-placed shot, you could probably do elk, but probably not recommended.
I probably wouldn't try an elk with a 257 Roberts.
Okay.
Like you said, with a well-placed shot. But yeah, like deer, antelope, mountain goat.
Gotcha. Okay.
Of course, any pests like coyotes or anything like that. This. So yeah, it's I bet it's hard to find ammo for.
Well, they suppose she wants to sell it, and she doesn't know what to ask for it. So she left it with me in case I knew someone who wanted to buy it. And I'm kind of like looking at this thing, and I'm like, it's in good shape. I haven't shot it. She said they said, I don't know how much quite a bit is. I think she says they have 400 or 500 rounds for it. And
that's quite a bit.
Well, they like to prep, a little bit, and
sure.
So they went in to buy a bunch of ammo at one point, and they didn't have this, they didn't have that, and they ended up finding some. I think there's about that much. I could be, but I mean, I don't know. There's no manufacturer on it, and I mean on the barrel or anything, and so I don't know. Pictures? Send me some pictures. Yeah, send me some pictures after we get off of here. I'll see if I can hunt up some information about it. I tell you, the thing about a gun like that is you get it sighted in, and unless you just really like shooting it, you probably won't shoot 200 rounds through it. Right. If I can get it
for... It's a hunting rifle.
If I can get it for a good deal, I was like, why not, right? I mean...
right.
I don't know, and I'll send you pictures. I don't know if I actually... Because I don't know a lot about rifles. I don't know if I need to, remove it from the stock to see if there's a mark or something, I don't know. We'll look at it. It's hard to say. And in the time when 257 Roberts was like really and truly popular, there were a blue million gun makers. Gotcha.
Like it wasn't like it kind of is like, it wasn't like it is today where, you've got your big gun manufacturers and then that's really it. In the 30s, 40s, 50s, and even up into the 60s, you had gun manufacturers that would make and sell in just like Sears and Roebuck, right? Like they would have, but they might only produce 1,000 rifles a year, and they'd sell them for $100 a piece, and that was it. Like, in a mail order catalog, but that was a lot of money in the 40s.
Yeah, and so this kind of reminds me of maybe that's because it's kind of just a plain. I mean, it seems everything. I haven't shot it. Everything seems to cycle. That's not rusty, and it just seems like a real plain Jane. Like there's nothing fancy with the wood stock. It's just a real plain, like they stamped it and sent it out, and I don't know. It's kind of interesting. It's got I think, is it a full field scope on it? Like yeah. So it's got an older, kind of an older solid type of scope on it. And
right.
I don't know. It's interesting. I keep looking at it and I'm just, I don't know what to even tell her. Like $300, $200. I have no idea.
Right. Yeah. And that, and that's probably what it's worth, honestly, is in that 3 to 5.
Right.
But it may only, that's a guy called me the other day. He had a 6.5 Carcano, the old Spanish, bolt that. And he's like, well, what do you think it's worth? And I'm like, I said, well, 5 years ago it was worth $100. I said, now it's probably worth 300 or 400. And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah. He said, well, I was thinking it might be worth 7 or 8. And I was like, yeah, you get 7 or 8 for it. You jump on that, take that to the bank, and don't look back.
Like, and just know you didn't get it from me.
Right? Yeah.
It's like I wanted. They're really nice ladies. They've come taking a lot of classes, and I want to look at her and say, well, how much do you want for that $200 gun?
Right. Yeah. Right. That's exactly right. That's and I see it all the time with ARs too. People build an AR and they're like, man, I've got. And I'm like, yeah, I understand what you've got in it, but I'm telling you what it's worth. Like, I'm telling you what people are going to give you for it.
Well, it's just like building a vehicle, right? Depending on what it is. I mean, you could put all these aftermarket things on it, but that doesn't necessarily, that $400 in exhaust that you put on there doesn't, that doesn't equal $400 more you're going to get for this vehicle.
Right. That's. Actually, I've got a high power AR that I built. It's basically an M16A2, except everything I have improved on it to make it as accurate as possible, right? Match trigger, match barrel, sighting system, the whole 9 yards. And I've got like $1,400 in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had several people ask me to buy it. And I'm like, hey, I'll sell it for $1,400. And they're like, well, I was thinking more like 8. And I was like, yeah, I understand that. I said, but I don't really need to sell it. Don't really even want to sell it. So I'm not going to lose money on it. Like, they're not wrong in their valuation. But at the same time, like,
everything's for sale for a price. And if I don't need to sell it, then I'm going to get what I want out of it, or I'm not going to worry about it. Yeah.
It's not eating anything hanging on my wall downstairs.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't cost me a dime. Actually, it's doing exactly what it was meant to do. I built it to look good hanging on my wall downstairs. That's what I built it for.
Mm-hmm. So hey, you'd be proud of me. I've actually there's been quite a few people that have come and taken multiple classes from me, and I end up, I don't even know how I do this. I end up putting, they buy it and they bring it to me. I'm Mr. Red Dot now. I'm putting red dots on people's guns for them.
Perfect.
I know.
Perfect.
It's crazy. And people I just got this on, you need to go, can you cite this thing in for me? Can you get it all dialed in? I'm installing triggers.
There you go.
I don't know. I should charge more. I really should.
Well, it's, I installed a red dot for a guy the other day. He brought the dot, and it was a Glock MOS system, so it already had the plate and everything. And
I got people paying me in ammo.
Yeah, I just torqued it on for him and zeroed it. Helped him zero it for 15, 20 minutes. I charged him $20.
Yeah.
He's like, "Man, that feels like that should be more." And I'm like, "I literally."
It's 10 minutes, dude. Yeah, and that's what I did, and that's what I did. And a lot of people are like, "Well, here's 100 rounds, or here's 50 rounds." I'm like, "I'll take ammo all day long."
For sure.
That's fine. It's fine with me.
I did a barrel swap on an AR for a guy here about a year ago, and he had a pretty nice barrel on it. I mean, it was probably a $150 barrel, and he wanted to switch from 223 to 300 black, and I was like, "Okay, that's fine." And he's like, "Well, find a barrel and I'll send you the money for the barrel and just swap it out for me." And I was like, "All right." And a barrel swap on an AR takes literally 5 minutes if you know what you're doing. Especially if you've got a free floated one, it's really not that hard. And so I swapped it out for him and let him shoot some 300 through my suppressor and all that and everything. And he's like, "Well, what do you want? How much does this cost?" I was like, "I don't know, man, like $15, $20. He's like, "You just want that 223 barrel?" And I'm like, "Sure." Like, I mean, that's a lot, but sure.
You said it first. You said it first, not me.
Yeah. I'm like, "I don't know, man. And it's still laying down there. It's in the parts bin. If I ever build another AR, I might put it in something. I don't know, or I might use it as a club. I don't know."
Oh yeah, I mean, but you got it if it's there. You can use it if you want.
Right,
Hey, I got a tip for you. I don't know. Have you messed much with the P365s at all?
I've shot them. I haven't I don't own one or anything like that, right. But I've shot them quite a bit.
I don't have one either, and I talked about this I think on the last podcast because it's crazy. So I have a buddy of mine that's really into his 1911s, and he likes to buy a lot of guns. Anyhow, he bought a Sig P365, and he always likes to mess with every gun that he buys.
He tinkers. Yeah,
crazy tinker.
Well, that's why he's into 1911s.
Yes, and he brought over. He's got I think it's the XL is the one he has. But okay. He's bought and put on there as like a $63 add-on, right? He bought that Wilson Combat Lower for it.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance to have someone do that or pick up one that's got different firearm. I liked them before.
Oh, yeah.
That is a different firearm. It changes the recoil impulse on it. It feels like you're actually flat. Oh, it's insane. It's so much better. So much better.
And the difference is like a couple of ounces.
Yeah.
It's not that much.
Yeah. And I mean, it's phenomenal. In fact, he goes, "Yeah, I just switched this over, shoot it." And I shot it and he picked it up and goes, "Holy." I said, "Yeah, dude." I said, "I like this gun and I wouldn't buy it because it was little. I'd buy it with this."
Right.
I mean, all day long.
Don't say that too loud. Sig will come out with a whole new model. Whole new line.
Probably. Well, they are coming out with the new gun. Are you going to pick up one of those X10s?
Oh yeah, that's on the list. So I've shot pretty well every 10 millimeter striker fired Like I've shot the M&P, I've shot the Springfield, I've
Right.
shot, of course, and then all the various 1911s that are hammer fired and all that. Of course, I own a couple of the Glocks, and but you know, I'll try the SIG out. I'm gonna buy one. If I like it, I'll keep it, and if I don't, I'll sell it. Like it's, you know, it's worth it to me to have. Of course, my buddy, he goes, wait until Gen 3 for SIG. And I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
but you know, it's basically the same thing as their 9mm P320. It's just a little beefier.
Right.
I'm
just curious. I'm just curious about, you know, I won't say I've shot all the 10s, but I mean, I've shot the Glocks. I've shot the, like the XDM, you know, the Springfields. I like that Springfield a lot.
Yeah, it's a good gun.
I haven't got my hands on the Smith & Wesson yet. How's that one going? That kind of fell off the radar a little bit. I mean, if people, what's going on with it? Something happening with that?
I don't know. Smith & Wesson kind of made some bad.
I heard the trigger was garbage.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. It's okay. I wouldn't call it a good trigger. But you know, it goes bang when you pull the trigger.
Well, sure. Like, I heard the reset on it's kind of weird.
Long. It's very long.
Why would you do that?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, the like the 2.0, that's got a decent trigger in it.
Right.
Oh, why wouldn't they just carry that over?
This is more like the 1.0 trigger, actually.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. Like it's I don't know. It's kind of a silly thing. Like I said, a buddy of mine owns it. It's fine. I would be okay with carrying it in, like, you know, bear country. I would be fine with it.
Well, you know what they're going to do? They're going to come out with the second gen. It's going to have the better trigger in it, and that's so they can get more money out of the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's marketing.
Yeah, it's the game, man. It's the game. You know, but I don't know. I'm just waiting on somebody to build the Maxim 9 in a 10 mil. That's what I want.
Well, you might be. Maybe it'll happen. Who knows? If it does, I'll drive on up there and shoot it.
There you go. There you go.
I keep saying I'm going to come up there. I never have yet.
Well, there's always time.
I guess I'm only getting older, but. Hey, so the reason why, you know, I'm gonna start this off here. Okay, we're gonna get
to the reason that we actually had this. We came to this discussion.
We came to this discussion, right? And so I'm just gonna preface this with we're gonna talk about you know, firearms in school, right? And I went ahead and made a post on Facebook. You know, I think I found a meme or something that should we arm all teachers? And I put up some different criteria that I thought might work, right? And I'm not saying that my ideas and my theories and opinions are set in stone, right? It's always, this whole thing is open to discussion because this is,
right,
to a certain extent, kind of a new thing. And where I'm an instructor, where I see different people in class, and I see what people do and how people act, and so I have different opinions based on you, and you're actually a teacher, and you know you compete in that kind of stuff, and so you know you might have different opinions. So I'm just going to start this off by saying, yeah, we're just going to hash this out and kind of talk about it and the reasons for everything. And I saw you post on Facebook like, we need to hash this out. And I'm like, oh shit.
Well, no, and I felt like that came across a little more aggressive than I intended. Because my intent was, you know, hey, me and you clearly have a few different ideas here. But it'll make for a good podcast, right? Like that was my point. We need to. And you know, and you even asked me, and I guess he couldn't make it. You know, if one of your buddies could come on, who's a local law enforcement officer,
he couldn't make it tonight. Yeah,
right. You know, and I'm like, yeah, because nothing I ever say is unchallengeable.
Well, right. Nothing anybody says is.
I feel like if you think that you're so right that you are beyond challenge, then you have officially you've lost already. Like you've officially already lost the debate or the argument or whatever you want to call it, because nothing is that true.
Right.
You know, like some things are maybe, but generally speaking, like on something like this, it's if you're not willing to talk to people,
Oh, well, yeah.
you're wrong. Like,
oh yeah, no, I totally get it. And when I saw you post on, I think I was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I just like woke up and I saw it and I was like, oh, freaking Tiger.
Well, and you know that I'm like, I am absolutely never going to not post my opinion.
Oh no, and I'm good with it. And then I think it was probably 8 hours later or 6. I don't even know how far it is. My buddy Nathan, he got on there and he's like, you mean in a podcast? And I went, oh, that's what he meant. When I wake up first thing in the morning and I roll over and look at that phone, I'm not registering that kind of stuff. I'm just like, who crapped on my posts? Let me look.
Yeah, that's right.
So what I thought I'd do, and if I sound stuffy or cough, it's because we got these huge cottonwood trees out here, and they decided to let loose over the last couple days.
Oh, yeah.
And I am a mess right now. It looks like it snowed outside my house because of all the cotton fluff floating around. So what I thought I'd do is I got this pulled up on Facebook. And what I do is I'll go down. I'll just list off one, and I'll read what I typed, what I wrote. You can talk about it. I'll talk about it. And we'll just kind of move on and just kind of do that if that works for you.
Works for me.
Okay, so number one, I put training criteria should be specified by the local LEOs that would also be responding to an active shooter call. And I'll let you discuss, and then I'll discuss, and maybe we'll come to an agreement, and maybe we won't, and I don't really care.
Okay. So So if I recall, my comment was that I disagreed with almost every one of your criteria. And this is one that me and you are really close on.
Okay.
So part of the problem is as an instructor, you know that like state tests for concealed carry classes,
right,
are essentially bullshit,
right,
for any kind of actual training.
Well, sure.
Like, I mean, they get you comfortable with firearm. They get you
a permit. That's all it does.
They get you a permit, but if you knew nothing before that, you'll come out of that learning something, right?
Sure.
So, and I think that the local law enforcement should have some criteria, or should have some influence on what training criteria is there. But the wording that I would put is the or equivalency. Because you get a guy like me, right? Mm-hmm. Like I know how to shoot. I know how to do tactics. I've done CQB training. I'm a vet. Mm-hmm. Like all this stuff and that and the other. Me taking a bullshit class is going to do nobody any good, and maybe people some harm because I might get pissed off and not take it.
Right.
So I feel like it should be more than your state concealed carry license, because like Indiana doesn't have a training requirement for their concealed. They're actually constitutional carry now. They don't even require you to have a license anymore.
Right.
Which is great. For Pro 2A, but as far as
people still need training, trust me.
People still need training. Absolutely. I don't disagree with that at all. But like I said, I feel like the wording here is the or equivalency.
Right. Gotcha.
Something along those lines. And maybe it's the local LEOs can make things tighter, but, have a statewide or a nationwide even minimum training. And then if your local law enforcement says, hey, that's fine and dandy to get you in the door, but we really need you to take this class. And then the next class is, okay, here's how to, pie corners and go, here's how to know your field of fire, and here's how to communicate in this situation. And here's what we're going to do. Like that I'm okay with. But yeah, I like I said, this one we're real close on, I feel like,
sure.
Or probably even agree with. It's just, you made a Facebook post and not everything gets expressed real well.
Well, and it does. And I'll be honest. I mean, if you've read any of my Facebook posts, and I'm not just trying to back down by any means, but I don't word stuff. I just kind of, I put it down and, I kind of don't think about it after.
Oh yeah. I'm the same way. I get diarrhea of the click a lot. Like I just click shit and move on.
Well, my wife will get a hold of me sometimes and she's like, what are you saying in your post? And I'm like, I don't know. What did I say? I should go back and read it.
Yeah. Like what did I say? Like,
So, and as far as this is going to flood over into some of these other ones that we'll kind of jump on. And I don't know exactly what the training should involve. It should be more than your concealed carry permit. And I just think it needs to be like, and this is just me, and like I said, it could grow. I mean, I'm not perfect on this, but it should be something with law enforcement. I think more than this, but I think I'll say at the very least. I think if you want to carry in the school, if a teacher wants to carry in the school, they need to understand. Maybe they need to go and they need to see like a block training for law enforcement officers, like in an active shooter. In like an active shooter situation, see what they do, right? Because if you're in there, you need to know. And we're gonna jump ahead, I guess, and then I'll just touch on it really quick, and we'll come back and talk about it later. I don't, and we probably will. We'll probably disagree on this too. I don't think the teachers should be hunting down the shooter, okay? But I think they need. But we'll touch on that because that's a whole nother topic here. But I think
and
that
that's one that we are going to disagree on.
Yeah. So I think that they need to at least know what law enforcement, what they may see. If this happens, what are you going to see? What is the law enforcement going to do? And they need to know how, whatever they're required to do or allowed to do or whatever. As teachers that carry, how they're going to react and how they fit into that. What is their job with the firearm? That's kind of what I meant, I think, by training. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. Like, you don't want, and I get, that, like the Uvalde, Texas thing. Like, people are pissed off because they wouldn't let parents in the building. I'm pissed off because they wouldn't let parents in the building.
Well, yeah.
Like, like that's because me and a buddy of mine who's a cop, we've discussed it at length, and I was like, that's a good way for me to get shot. I said, because that's what it would take to keep me out of the building. He said, yeah. He said, that's exactly right. He said, and that's what it should be. He said, and that sucks, right? He said, but he said, they made the wrong call.
Oh yeah.
But and I know that parents going in or teachers having firearms like muddies the waters, right? Because then how do you know who the active shooter is?
Right.
Yada yada yada. And I've had some thoughts on how to mitigate that a little bit. And they're not perfect, but you need to know how not to shoot at each other. Mm-hmm. Like and that kind of training is very important. Like, that's one of the biggest things that you learn. Like, he talks about, learning at the academy, at the Indiana State Police Academy. Like, that's what you learn is how not to shoot at each other.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
He said, and it's bad because like new guys get stuck at the front of the stack. Like, if you're going into entry in the building, new guys get stuck at the front of the stack. He said, which is scary as shit
because they haven't proven that they are going to shoot somebody.
He's like, but you don't want him behind you because he might shoot you. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, that's actually kind of smart, Yeah. And it was the same thing in the Marine Corps. Like, we did that shit all the time. Like, you'd put the least experience in front. And it sounds shitty because you're kind of setting the front guy up for failure. But at the same time, like, the experienced guys can cover you from behind. They can't cover you from in front.
Right.
So,
oh yeah.
So yeah, like I said, on point one, I think we're kind of, we're at least shooting at the same, target. If we're just at the same spot.
We're just coming around to it from different directions.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm looking at this list here, and I'm not going to read them all at once here, but I'm looking, and if you kind of remember what I wrote, I actually think I think number one, I think the training part of it would actually encompass about 3 or 4 of these things.
Yeah. And and there's some of that. But yeah, all right. So let's
go to number 2 because we were going to have conversation after this is all done, I'm pretty sure. So number 2, it says I could even see certain weapons and calibers being specified. And go ahead and answer this, and then I'll tell you what I think.
Okay, so I think I know where you're coming from here.
Okay.
You're coming from an area, again, as an instructor, and there's a couple of different schools of thought here. One is that, okay, if all the teachers are carrying Glock 19s, right, 9mm Glocks, and that's what the local LEOs carry, and a shitty situation happens, local LEOs can pick up ammo as they go. Right?
Actually, that's not what I thought at all, but that's a good point. Go on.
Okay, so there's that, and then there's also the thought process. Well, you don't want somebody carrying like a 5.7 that's going to go through walls, right? Like that's going to overpenetrate and all that. So I get where all of that comes from. Here's the problem with mandating what people carry.
Right.
Like, obviously you have me, like I'm the weirdo who carries 10 mil, right? And that's fine. Like I would, if they told me, hey, you have to carry, as long as it was a reasonable pistol, as long as it wasn't like a Ruger LCP or some, bullshit like that, or 380 or, if it was a Glock 19, I would carry a Glock 19. But in the same breath, my wife, who has her concealed carry permit, who has attended training, doesn't shoot anything other than a 22.
Sure. Okay.
She's not comfortable with it. She won't carry it. She won't shoot it. That's it. Right. So if you mandate, hey, it's got to be a Glock 19, you've essentially just taken a firearm out of the fight because she's not going to carry one.
Sure.
Right. And there's a lot of people who are like that. And maybe, and then of course, guys like me who want to carry the bigger guns that are more capable. Why are you cutting down my capability? But it's just, as a whole, telling people that they have to carry certain things is you're just limiting a lot of things.
I see what you're saying. Let me tell you my thoughts. I see what you're saying. Let me tell you my thoughts behind this, because it's one of those things where I typed it, and I meant to put it down, but you can't see what's going on in my brain at the time, right?
Right.
And so I see lots of people come in and shoot. And I've seen lots of people come in and take the concealed carry class. And I've seen lots of firearms come through here, right? Firearms, those folks who are getting their concealed carry permit, they're going to carry, right? And there's a portion of them that when they come in and they say, this is the gun I'm going to carry, and then I see them shoot, I'm like, or then I see the gun they're going to carry. I'm like, don't. I want to say, don't carry that gun. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not the gun for you, and that's what worries me. And I'm not judging on. Okay, if it's a high point, whatever. It's a high point. It goes bang. My deal is, and I'm thinking the weird guns, right? I've seen people that, and I can get more specific too, but I've seen people come in carrying like that single action, or I see people that are carrying a revolver that honestly they can't freaking shoot, and but they think that they can. Does that make sense? And I'm not saying everyone's got to carry a 9mm. Everyone's got to carry 40. I mean, you'd read that comment, and that's probably kind of what. I know that's what it sounds like, but it's just I don't want someone carrying some weird, oddball gun that's going to be more. Because I've had people come to class, Tiger, and they want to take the class with a weird Derringer. Yeah. And I'm like, you can't even shoot the weird Derringer, let alone.
Right. Yeah. And like, and like I've got that little North American Arms Mini 22 revolver, right, that I carry in my pocket all the time, right? Like, and it's a backup gun. Like it's good to about 15 feet. And it's a 22, and it is what it is. Like, that's not what you need in a
situation,
active shooter situation. Although I will say, it's better than a rock.
No, it is better than a rock. But it is better. It is better than a rock, and I don't want to go down this road quite yet, because we're not there yet. Because it's number 5. But let's just I'll just throw this out there. We talked about not hunting down the shooter, and you have an opinion from me. So
we're gonna get there. We'll get there.
Well, right, but you see where I'm going with that, right?
I understand exactly where you're coming from.
And so that's kind of what that's what would concern me. And I've had actually just overall had a lot of people, say something. Oh, why do we have these? Why do you make this criteria? Why if they carry in their off time, they should be able. Yeah, but. Here's the thing. We struggle obviously it's a struggle to get firearms in school anyway, right? And so if we're going to do it, we have to be sure. We have to be sure that the teachers, whoever is going to carry in there, knows their stuff, they're proficient with it, and they're not going to cause any problems. We got to try to mitigate that the best that we can, right? That's what's in my mind. And so that's why I threw these out here. Not like anyone but you and 2 other people paid attention to my post, right? But that's what I'm saying.
but that's like I said, that's where I feel like it. Again, I disagreed with it on the face of it,
sure.
right?
Well, yeah,
like,
yeah.
I understand where you're coming from, but like my wife, again, she carries a 22. She carries a Walter P22. Because I haven't bought her a Taurus yet.
Get her a Taurus, man. Come on.
Well, right, it's on the list. But it's a good little gun. And in an active shooter situation, if she were to barricade behind a door or whatever and have that gun, I would be completely confident that she could put all 10 rounds of that magazine into a dude's chest as soon as they kicked open the door or whatever in about a second and a half. Like, that's about how long it takes her to empty the magazine.
Right.
And that's fine. Like, that's a lot. That's great. So mandating, a certain caliber or a certain whatever, and also, I've kind of got some anarchist in me and being told exactly what to do.
Well, no, I hear you. But have you ever seen someone that says, "Well, I'm going to carry this gun"? I'm like, well. And I'm thinking in my brain, well, you can't shoot the gun, and I know you're not going to put the time into it. Well, I'm going to carry this gun because it's easy, and I don't even know I have it. And I'm afraid that people will tend to carry a firearm, especially where maybe they got to dress a little nicer because they're at school, right? They have to carry a firearm, or that they carry one because they want to say that they have a freaking gun on them, but it's not. They carry it based on comfort, and a gun is going to be uncomfortable.
Guns are uncomfortable. Guns are uncomfortable to carry. Absolutely.
And I just so that's I guess that's kind of what I was getting at, right? I mean, so
yeah, and I totally I can think of, without even really thinking, probably 10 people that I know that carry firearms that I would be more comfortable in the world if they didn't.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it's their right to carry, and and I try to get them out here occasionally to shoot and give them some tips and try to improve, and and I'm not saying that I'm like some kind of firearms god or anything, but it's you try to help people where you can.
You're a vehicle to get them to actually practice, right?
Right. That's the biggest thing is they may come out and I may not even tell them what to do, but they at least shot 50 rounds.
Oh yeah, it's better. It's better than not. Yeah.
It's better than not, that's, so, all right.
Well,
so we've
number
got
4.
We've got that one.
Number 4.
Are we on 4 or 3? I thought we were on 3.
Oh, we're on 3. I just misnumbered this is what I did. I had 2 4s. Son of a gun.
You had 2 4s. I noticed that, but I wasn't going to call you out on it.
Oh, freaking call me out on it. Yeah. Okay, number 3. Also, I think that the method of carry, including holster and holster placement, should meet certain criteria. And it's probably what's irritating people is when I say meet certain criteria. That's probably
actually
an offensive term.
So, again, this isn't one that we are terribly far off on, because I'm not even entirely sure that that concealed is the way in this situation.
There you go. Okay.
Because in my everyday life outside of school, I don't concealed carry. I open carry.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, I think that it would need to be like a level 3 retention holster because and I get all of that. Like, it needs to be something that is very secure,
right,
so that the random angry 13-year-old isn't going to get a hold of it.
So there's going to be
like
so I'm going to say it. There's going to be a criteria.
So there's going to be some criteria there, right? and maybe concealed is the way. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a locker. Maybe it's not even on body carry. Maybe it's a locked locker,
Yeah.
In every third room or whatever, whatever it is, right? Like, and it could be biometric. That way, no student except, like
the person supposed to be getting into it can get into it.
This person who's supposed to, and then they can have one master one that the superintendent has or whatever, like, or the janitor or whoever they deem to be able to get into all the gun safes gets into all the gun safes. And we were talking about this the other day, and again, my wife came up with a really great idea. If you have something like that, then you open up options to where it's not even necessarily firearms, right? Like, maybe one teacher isn't comfortable with firearm, but they're good with, like, maybe having mace
in
their room.
Yeah, non-lethal.
she brought up the taser, and I was like, the taser is a great idea, like, because some of the early ideas for this idea was like a tear gas option. And I'm like, well, that prevents like defenders from going in and different things.
Sure.
And but we've got one teacher at the school that I know that has a baseball bat in her room for this reason.
Yeah.
But whenever my wife said taser, I'm like, that's perfect. That literally can only harm the person you shoot at.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is no chance of over penetration or anything like that.
Yeah.
And like, if the teacher in Uvalde had a taser and had hit this dude in the chest or in the neck or wherever and tased his ass, like, that's the end of the situation, right?
Oh yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
I've been tased. It hurt.
Oh yeah.
And and maybe they aren't comfortable with the firearm, but if they're comfortable with that, then that's a bonus.
Sure. Yeah.
And again, that all goes back to the training and the comfort and all of that. But honestly, like I said, I don't know that the concealed carry is the way to go. Maybe it needs to be the locker or the open carry with. I was pretty well fine with, this needs to meet certain criteria. Again, the biggest problem that I have, and I think one of the guys pointed it out, is we don't need like SERPA.
Oh, right.
Sponsoring all teacher holsters.
I get it. I get it, and I'm not I guess I don't think I meant like holster brands. Here's my problem. There's a lot of crappy holsters out there, right?
There's a lot of crappy holsters out there.
Whatever it is, it needs to be safe. Okay.
Yeah.
And my thoughts immediately, and why I put this one there, my thoughts immediately went back to that. That I think was it in Texas? Was it in Texas where that guy was in the church with a shotgun and they shot some? Okay, so when I say like holster placement, I remember that guy, right? The guy that carried in the small of his back, the guy that couldn't get it out, and he got shot. He's dead.
He got shot. He's gone. Yeah.
And so I think stuff like that needs to be talked about, right? I mean,
right. And I carried small of back for years.
Yeah.
I really did. And I've, and I still occasionally do if my dress requires it, but it's very, very rare anymore. Yeah. I actually, I've got a chest rig that I will carry in now if that type of dress is required.
Sure.
That's significantly more comfortable and significantly faster.
Well, one of the reasons I don't like a couple of reasons I don't like small in the back personally is because it's slow, right? I mean, it takes a bunch of movement. You get knocked down and you're not getting your firearm. That kind of thing. Another thing is I actually knew is weird. I thought knowing one was enough, but when I lived in Kansas, I actually knew two older gentlemen that had severe back problems because they had actually slipped and fallen and landed on their gun. Yeah, and it's like you'll be injured permanently, you can be. There's a lot of different things.
It's not a great way to carry. Which again, like we said earlier, carrying a gun is uncomfortable.
Yes.
That's why. That's actually why I open carry. Like I said, 3 o'clock outside the waistband. But what's amazing is like 99% of people don't realize I carry.
Right.
Yeah, I wear a little bit baggier T-shirt, or I wear a button-up shirt that's not buttoned,
and they don't know.
It's unbuttoned and untucked. They don't know. They have no idea. Because people are really oblivious.
Oh, definitely.
And, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right way to carry. Appendix is better, generally speaking. If you want it to be concealed, like if your goal is concealed carry, appendix is probably the best way to carry as far as concealability goes.
Yes.
The shoulder holster would be a close second.
Depending on
the dress, how you dress.
Yes.
Yeah. Depending on, but if you're going to wear like a blazer or something, or that button up shirt that's unbuttoned, it's a pretty solid way to carry.
No, it definitely is.
But yeah. So like I said, as far as this point goes, I feel like again we're coming at the same target from two different directions.
We are. Yeah.
But it's like I said, the main thing that we need to avoid is like I think it was Nathan that pointed out, Glock and SERPA don't need to sponsor Indiana State teachers force everybody to carry that.
I definitely agree. I just think, here's what I think. And maybe I guess, now I'll look at it. So maybe it should have been reworded, right? Let's, something about the method of carry should be proven to be safe, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Safe and secure, right?
Right. You have the lists of suggestions that are not exhaustive.
Right.
Like that's kind of how I come at it. So, but all right. So
Okay.
Moving on to actual number 4.
Yeah, number 4. Training should be paid for by the teacher or employee that wishes to carry. I bet you don't like this one.
Okay. Part of me does, part of me doesn't. Because I think that if you want to move up in rights and responsibilities, then it's on you, right?
Okay.
But I think that maybe the initial training should be paid for by the teacher, but then renewals are covered
Okay, gotcha.
as part of the school budget.
I got you there. I got that. And
Because you prove that you prove that you want to, you prove that you're capable
you've
of
made
it.
the initial investment.
You've made you bought your own pistol, right?
I like
You
it.
bought your own handgun, you bought your own, or if it's the lockbox, the school pays for that because that's the school requirement, right?
Right.
And this goes back to the other points, like if they require a certain type of holster, school should pay for it. It's just like if a job site requires me to wear a hard hat, they have to provide a hard hat. Like that's kind of part of it. But the training that I've taken to get onto the job site, to get into the school in this manner is mine. Like that's my certification, right? Like that's I don't have any problem. Like if my superintendent called me tomorrow and said, "Hey, I'm willing to let you carry in the school or whatever. You just have to go take this $500 class," I would sign up next week. Like
Right.
I would pay that and I would sign, and not just because I feel like I should be allowed to carry, but because, it happened in rural Texas. Rural Southern Indiana is not that big of a leap. Like,
Right. Oh yeah.
it could happen at my school, and I don't like being like, I don't like not being prepared for that situation.
It happened twice in this. It happened twice in the same school in a little town called Rigby, Idaho.
Yeah.
I mean, just this year or last year, but last year. But yeah, so I mean, it can happen. And my deal with this is I don't want someone just, oh yeah, I carry the gun. I got a gun in my car, and I'm just going to go ahead and carry now, right?
They need to be
invested in this.
They need to be invested in it. Yeah, and I'm fine with that. But putting a burden on teachers who already don't get paid enough,
right,
to continually set aside 5% or 10% or whatever it is of their income just to be able to better protect kids seems like that's a little bit much.
So let's reword this. Okay, I don't mind rewording this. The initial investment should be the teachers, and continued training should be covered by the school.
Right, because the school should not be buying teachers pistols.
Well, right.
Like that's and the initial training and qualification or whatever, or like some schools even now, like my praxis, my licensure testing, they will cover one test. If you pass it, great. If you fail, you're on your own. Like after that, you
either retake it and pay for it, or you don't carry.
Or you don't carry, right? Like, and that would be the same thing. Like you pay for your initial one, you get tested, you pass. As long as you keep passing tests, you can carry for free for the remainder of your career. Once you fail one, that's on you. Like that's you didn't keep up with your training. You didn't show that you were interested in it. So yeah, like I said, that's not a huge one. But just the minor rewording is the way. There.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, we can agree on that one then. I see. Yeah. I think what it's going to end up is we're agreeing more than what we thought we would.
Oh yeah, I didn't think that we were going to disagree.
We just needed to work out the details.
I didn't think we were going to get into a heated argument or anything.
Oh, I wanted to fight you. I wanted to fight you, Tiger. I'm kidding.
Oh well, it's coming. Just wait. Probably on this next one. What's number 5?
Oh god. Oh yeah. Okay. Teachers, employees who carry should not hunt down the shooter. They should still remain with and defend the students when and if the fight comes to them.
Okay, and herein lies
the problem.
Yep. And actually, it goes. There's some other stuff that we were kind of discussing earlier that I'm gonna speak to here.
Okay.
The best way I've seen this put is a friend of mine, Robin Sandoval. She runs a Girl and a Gun shooting conference. They've gotten thousands and thousands of females involved in competition shooting and in self-defense, and like awesome league. Huge plug for them. If you haven't heard of them, look them up. But she wrote a post and she said, America, there are people who run towards the sound of gunfire.
Oh, sure.
In every building in America, like there are enough people who do that, right? I'm one of them, right? Like if I heard gunfire, I would go towards it. I'm not running away from it. Asking someone like me to stay in my room when in the next room there could be a gunman literally gunning down kids, literally shooting kids. Like asking me to sit still is ludicrous. And I don't think that everyone is willing to run into gunfire. And that's great. We don't need everyone to run into gunfire. Like, there's a teacher at my school, and I love her to death. She doesn't like firearms. And she's not, and I'm like, cool. You can stop the bleeding on the kids who are shot.
Right.
Which frees me up to go do this other thing. But yeah, asking me or anybody in a similar situation, right, to sit still while innocent people are dying, and maybe not even in the school, right? Like I've talked about it in the Walmart. People's like, yeah, just get out of the Walmart. If somebody's shooting up a Walmart, just get out, right? Like that's not me. I can't, in good conscience, leave people who are defenseless and innocent to get shot. I just can't. And it's a good way for me to get arrested, right? You put that rule in, it's a good way for me to get arrested.
Right.
And me and my wife were talking about it, and I was like, going back to this locker idea and what's a reasonable gun to carry. Like I've actually measured it, right? If somebody breaks into our school and goes into the gym, which is at the end of my hallway, right? Goes to the gym, starts shooting people, and then comes back to my hallway. And at that point, when they come back around that corner, if I step out of my door and say I'm carrying a pistol, right? I'm carrying that long slide 10 mil, right? That I can hit an 8-inch plate at 50 yards with,
right?
And they've got a rifle. It's 78 yards from the end of that hallway to my room. I'm dead, right? Like I'm shot. I honestly think that if you're comfortable enough with it, a rifle's not a bad idea. Like, and I know overpenetration, and there's this whole laundry list of problems. Well,
that's where the law. Well, and there's actually a school in Idaho. I think it's up in Garden Valley, but they actually will have rifles in the school, and they're in a locker. I don't know where they're located in the school or anything like that. Right. But that would be a good thing for even a locker, right? You could access it that way.
Well, right. If it's in my room, like if I, have a little 12-inch AR or whatever in my room in a locker that's locked with a biometric signature, like that gives me the capability of at least being on some sort of even playing field, right?
Right.
Or if the guy only has a handgun, then I win that gunfight, right? Like that's,
they're giving the rifles to you. Never mind. We won't go down there.
Well, and again, it has a whole laundry list of problems, right? Like there is a whole laundry list of problems with it. And I don't know that rifles are the right, but going back to the point, like telling someone who is, and not even me specifically, but any veteran, right, who has been trained to run into the sound of chaos, run into the sound of gunfire, go save people, go do this, go do that, like, telling them, no, stand down and listen to these people die. I can't do it. I can't get there. And we may have to agree to disagree. I understand what you're saying because, again, more shooters confuddled situations, and I actually had the thought, okay, let's go back to this locker idea, right? All right, well, in the locker is a bright blue, yellow, and pink polka dotted swirled badge that I can slap on my chest, right? Okay, law enforcement knows I'm a teacher.
Right. Gotcha.
Some sort of identifying mark, right? Or a
Muddy Girl camel rifle. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, yeah, whatever. My school colors are orange and brown, and they're the ugliest colors in the world together. But maybe I get orange and brown body armor, and anybody wearing orange and brown body armor doesn't get shot by cops. And if they do, they're wearing body armor, right? It's
right. There you go.
Whatever it is, whatever it is that you decide to identify people with, identify your allies with it, and that gets rid of a lot of the confusion. And I know there's still a lot of confusion because it's a freaking gunfight.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I can't stomach the thought of what the cops did in Uvalde, standing outside for 40 minutes.
Well, yeah,
40 minutes.
Oh no, I get it.
I can't imagine standing outside for 3, much less 40.
Right. Right.
And I get and I talked to several teachers about it. If the front office person gets shot in my school, there's a good chance I'm not going to hear it because she's a solid 100 yards away, and there are 3 doors and 4 walls between us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not going to hear that gunshot or not recognize it as a gunshot. Mm-hmm. Right? That's so there's a whole lot to go into all of that, but at the same time, just asking people just to stand down is, and I'm not saying that I would abandon my kids, right? I have a plan for my kids. There's, I've worked out how to keep them safe, and in every class I identify a couple of kids that I know I'm going to put in charge of everybody, and I know all of this. And that's where the training comes in. But yeah, just asking people just to stand down while other people get shot is just, it's not in me.
So I mean, my reason for saying this, right? I mean, and it's basically, I think that the responsibility lie with the kids, right? That you protect the kids. You're there to protect them if they come in.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe there's, because I know someone who is what is he? He works for he's a teacher, but he works for the sheriff's department. He's their what do they call it?
Resource officer?
No, he's not the resource officer. He's a I won't say on call. What's the reserve?
Okay,
reserve deputy, right? And he gets out and he does stuff, but he also works, so he still gets all that training and all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
And so maybe if there's people like that, or someone like yourself, and maybe that would be up to the individual school, and that's where the other training would work, right? I mean, so you're going to work with law enforcement to know that, hey, you're there, or there's someone else who may go and do this, or but it needs to be known. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's I mean, you're looking at take my county, right? Mm-hmm. We literally just got our first stoplight 2 months ago.
Ooh, you guys are moving up. I like
moving up in the world. Everybody bitched about it. It's terrible. But anyways, they average response time is a solid 10 minutes.
Oh, I get
in
it.
this county.
No, we have places like that here. I got a place that's 30 minutes.
And we've got a SRO.
Yeah.
We've got a resource officer. And I like Ray Saylor. He's a great dude. He's in his 60s. He's got heart problems. He's not going to cross the school at a dead sprint and then be any good at anything.
Right.
He'll cross the school at a dead sprint, but then he's just not going to be real. I do running guns. Trust me, when you're tired, your shooting goes to shit.
Oh, it does.
Or your decision making goes to shit. All of it goes to shit.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, and maybe it's a tiered system, right? My one teacher friend, like I was talking about, she's medical. She's fine with the sight of blood. She can keep kids calm. She's decisive. She can organize. She can do all of that, right? She can help evacuate kids out of whatever classroom she's in and provide medical aid to anybody who is injured. And then maybe you have a teacher who's not confident hunting kids down, right? But by God, they can barricade the door and they can put 10 rounds in them.
Well, and maybe that's what maybe that's where that training that we talked about comes into play, right? If
you have a tiered system.
Well, if you're going to carry and you've done everything right, and you're one of the people that is going to wants to do this and is a part of this, maybe that's when you go. And it's like, I won't say evaluated, that sounds like horrible, but you're working, right? You talk to law enforcement, you train with them, you see what they do, you discuss them, and you guys come up with a plan, right? Maybe there's like someone like you that can go and do that, and there's someone that needs to barricade the room with the kids, and you find out who's doing what and your strengths and your weaknesses, and you work together. Right. It's
a team, right? Yeah. You have to have, like, in any situation, like this, and I keep going back to this Texas guy because he's the most recent, right? Or the Buffalo, New York guy, or Columbine. Columbine happened when I was 6 or 7,
right.
8 maybe. And so hugely formative in my life, like hugely formative experience in my life. And there were 2 of those kids, right? But having one dude try to hunt down even another dude is a bad idea. Like,
right.
Like it's and I hate to use the term tactical because God, I hate the term.
Oh,
tactical.
I hate that term.
It's in my company name, and I hate the term tactical. But you have to have a tactical team, right? In the truest sense of the word, a tactical situation is just any kind of small, intimate situation, right? Like you can have a tactical situation with your dog whenever you're playing tug of war. Like you're trying to think of a tactic and how to get the thing out of his mouth.
Sure.
So you need a team that understands everybody else's tactical role in that situation. And but just flat out saying that, teachers shouldn't go, go hunting or whatever you want to call it's just a hard one for me to swallow because I couldn't sit in my room. Like, I will be honest, I couldn't sit in my room. Like, even if I was unarmed, it's like my wife, God bless her, she understands that if there's ever a school shooting at Crawford County, I'm probably going to die. Because I'm going to go and try and fix the situation.
Maybe
right?
they can, I don't. What's the name of your school?
Crawford County.
Your Crawford County School. That's what it is, right? Okay.
Yeah, Crawford County High School. Yeah.
Crawford County High School. So maybe you get this all put together and you'll be part of the elite Crawford County, attack squad or something.
Well, it's
special
it's
forces
really
unit for Crawford County School.
It's interesting that you say that because whenever I was in high school, there was a lot of nudge, nudge, wink, wink about students who had like rifles and shotguns in their truck.
Right.
Yeah. And it was illegal at the time to even have them in your vehicle, but it was even understood that if a kid, not necessarily an adult, which I hesitate to call 18 an adult, but we will, but if a student was shooting up the school, at the time, we didn't have SROs. We didn't have cops that were responding to active shooter situations. Like this is, before all of this, like the kind of plan was to let students out to their cars to handle shit. Like, and I was one of the kids that kept a shotgun in my truck because I hunted all the time. Like that's what I did. And I was on the trap team. We had a trap team that we, and all that. But yeah, and a buddy of mine who is not in the school system but is a fellow veteran, he's talked to me since Uvalde about trying to start up like a nonprofit to pay for some of this training, to pay for some of this, to do all of that. And I'm like, hey man, I'm here to help. Like I'm absolutely here to help in any way, shape, or form. Like maybe we start with Crawford, maybe we start with another school, I don't know, but if it's going to keep kids safer, I'm here for it.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't think that we totally disagree on this. We see it a little differently, but I mean, I could see it happening if it just needs to be planned. But this is what it is, though. I mean, you have to have the discussion. You have to, okay, what are we going to do? How is this going to work? Let's have a plan. Are we going to do this? And if so, everyone's got to know what the hell is going on.
Right. Yeah. Because, again, school shooting at Crawford County, I'm probably going to get shot maybe by a cop.
Right. Yeah.
Because they're not going to know. And I hate to say that because I've got several good friends on the Crawford County Sheriff's Department. I know all of these guys. I went to school with them. I grew up with them. But it's, we need to have these discussions, right? Like,
exactly.
We can no longer just assume that it's going to work out.
Well, yeah, because it won't.
It won't, right?
It never does.
It never is going to just work out. Like, and yeah, so that's kind of, but yeah, that was my big sticking point on the whole list was like, look, if I'm carrying a firearm, I'm going to go try and kill people that are shooting at kids.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right.
Well, let's look at the last one. It says in the required training or whatever we have set up, there should be shooting qualification that has to be met. And I just put twice a year. I think that's a good number if you're going to do it. I mean, and that's going to make people actually go out and shoot and become proficient with it. And
and I would say that again, it goes back to this tiered system that we've basically been talking about throughout, right? Like, if you're going to be like me and you are going to go out and look for the shooter, then yeah, probably 4 times a year. Like, in all honesty, like, and maybe it doesn't need to be like
every quarter.
Maybe it doesn't even need to be like a really hard qualification. Like, it, it doesn't have to be, you don't need to be shooting dimes with your pistol at 30 yards.
Well, right. It's more of a,
if you can.
Sure. Better if you can. It's a center mass defensive thing. Yeah.
Right. And it goes back to, again, I don't want it to be bullshit like concealed carry permit classes are.
Well, sure.
But at the same time, it shouldn't discourage people from doing it, right? Like, a teacher should not be so nervous about their qual that they're not going to want to do it at all, right? Like,
sure.
they should be.
Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You cut out for a second. Not a big deal. I was just trying to fill dead air.
Yeah. But yeah, it should be tough enough to encourage training and practice, but not so tough that it discourages even the effort, right?
Right. I mean, you need to make sure that you still know how to shoot, right? That maybe you've done a little shooting since your last freaking qualification, because honestly, that's what you need.
Yeah, right. Like, and again, I don't think on this one we disagreed a ton. We were just kind of coming at it from. And honestly, I think that, okay, say you have an SRO in the school system, right?
Yeah.
We have, God, I don't even remember, like 50 or 60 acres that the school owns, right? Like right there. Why don't we have a 50-yard pistol bay out back? And
that would be awesome.
If you want to go qualify with your, do your quarterly qualification or whatever, the SRO is out there Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 5. Like, you can go take your.
You keep cutting out, man. Are you jogging?
No. All right. Hold on.
Okay.
It's better.
Well, your voice sounds farther away, but you just kept cutting out.
I don't know what's going on. I haven't moved.
Okay. Well, go back to where you were. Your voice sounded closer earlier.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay.
All right, are we good now?
Yeah, we're good. No, I think overall, this is just a discussion, and I get where you're coming from, and I could see some stuff, and I think if we were in charge, Tiger, I think we could sit down and we could hash this out, and I think we could come up with a pretty good plan.
Yeah, like, and I think that's what it, like, again, we go back to my buddy who wants to start this nonprofit. I'm like, he's like, what will it take? Because, he contacts me because I'm a teacher, and he's like, what will it take? I said, I tell you what, I said, get all your statistics, get your presentation. He's in a band, so he knows some like really great audio visual guys, and, he can make a professional level presentation. I'm like, get it.
Yeah, get it done. Are you still there?
Principals. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know either. But like I said, once we get the presentation going, we can go to the principals, go to the superintendent, go to the school board, and we can work from there, right? And if they say, hey, we need 10,000 signatures to get this done. Okay, well, now we have a goal, right? Like,
yeah. Well, and you want to know what's different about Idaho, and I don't know if you've heard me talk about this before. So all the schools K through 12 in the state of Idaho, they're covered by the federal blanket law that says no firearms and all that bull crap. So they're covered by that. But what people and everyone says, we need to get this changed. We need to go to the state of Idaho. We need to go up to the state up in Boise. I'm like, yeah, so we need to do that too. But what people don't understand is it's very interesting to me. In the state of Idaho, it is up to the school board. If you go to the school board and you say, and you can convince them, as long as they agree with it, they can come up with kind of their own, guidelines or whatever, and you can help them. As long as they write it into their bylaws, once they've written it into the bylaws, it's a done deal.
Yeah.
You can carry, and it's crazy to me that we have all these school shootings and people get super concerned, especially locally, right? But no one does a damn thing about it. All they want to do is make a post on Facebook and then call into the radio show. That's all they want to do. What can we do? We need to change this. Well, go talk to other parents and get this taken care of.
Get it? Yeah. And that's me and my buddy, right? Like that's what we're shooting for. That's where, if we don't change it for any school but Crawford County, I can't help the other school. Like I'm here. I will help other schools do this, but at the same time,
well,
they've got to step up.
Yeah, if you lay it all out and get it done at your school, and then there's a system in place, kind of like, okay, this is how we did it. You're next. Let's go.
Yeah, we've got I think 9 or 10 schools in surrounding counties. Like, okay, well, Crawford County is the model. Here's how we're going to tweak it for North Harrison or for Perry County or for Tell City or whatever.
Right.
Like, so.
Well,
yeah, like I said, I don't think we were terribly far off, but
what a good podcast.
We had to hash some things out.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think it worked out well. So anytime I post something, which is now don't be hitting me up like every day, but anytime I post something you think would be a good podcast, and you're willing to come on and you got some time, just holler at me. We'll make it work.
Yeah, we'll work it out. That's and it's funny because I was listening to your Uvalde, Texas episode like 3 days ago, right? Like on my very first hike on the 75 hard program that I'm on. I turn on the Patriot Defense podcast. It works out. It's an hour and a half long. I need to hike for an hour and a half, hike until the podcast is over, turn around, come back.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the stuff, I was like, yeah, I can get into this, and some of it I disagreed with, but sure. I don't even remember what it was at this point, But and it was it was just a really, I was like, yeah, this is how I would approach that, and I thought about messaging you, and I was like, yeah, it'll buff out, like it's not that big of a deal.
Well, and what we did with that one, and even the one down in New York, we kind of did the same thing. We're just like, this is what we've seen. This is everything that we've seen, whether it is right or it's not. Now, okay, here's the facts. Now let's kind of, conspiracy theories aren't always wrong anymore. Let's just go ahead and look at it. And if this is what it is, great. If it's not, it's not. But it gives you something to think about, because this stuff is changing like crazy, and it's some of it's just really ironic that it's happening, and some stuff makes you scratch your head. And so all we wanted to do was just point stuff out.
Well, yeah, and it was like all that stuff was great, right? Like it,
yeah,
and it. Like I said, it talks, and we've talked about it before, some of the things that people don't realize, and I made mention of it tonight, my hallway is 75 yards long, right?
Right.
Like, that's a game changer, right? Like that is a game changer from any kind of traditional thinking.
Sure.
And then you start talking about conspiracy theories. Well, how did the guy get a $2,000 rifle? Well, maybe he had a credit card. Maybe he had a credit card. Maybe he got it from a Fed. Maybe he bought it off of, some crackhead who used to be rich, right? Like,
Who
knows?
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know. But, at the same time, you've heard of Occam's razor, right?
Yeah.
Simplest explanation is usually the right one. Well, I've tended towards Hanlon's razor, which is never attribute to malice what can be chalked up to stupidity, right? Like,
Right.
I don't get into conspiracy theories a lot because, honestly, people aren't that smart.
Yeah. Well, but just anymore.
And I don't think necessarily the government isn't lying to us. I'm pretty sure they are about, everything. About pretty well everything. But do I think that this kid was a sleeper cell? Probably not, but he might have been.
I mean, and I don't know that he was, but it's just one of those things. It's weird. So they start, this happens. They start talking about gun control, and then boom, 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 and you're like, what the hell is that all about? Because it happens every single time.
Every time that it even comes around, then all of a sudden there's a school shooting like that. Yeah, that kind of shit's like, well, and I don't know, maybe it's not purpose.
Right. Hey, you kind of fuzzed out again, but I tell you what, I'm not trying. I'm not trying to cut you off.
Yeah, no, good.
And you're back. So
yeah,
I'm not trying to fill dead air. I tell you this, it seems like, and I don't know what's going on, signal, I don't know, but let's just go ahead. We've already been going for an hour 30.
Awesome.
Yeah, which is, I got no complaints whatsoever, but I know you want to go out and get your hike in. Let me just go ahead and wrap this up, okay? I do appreciate you. Don't you love it? I always have hard wrap-ups.
Well, I tell you what, before you wrap it up.
Yes.
All right. If anybody's listening and you're thinking about zombie, planning on zombie, anything like that,
plug zombie.
Pay attention. I am about to do because I've got banned from Facebook for 30 days, so I haven't been able to post anything. Just got off of it a few days ago, and I'm going to do, I haven't quit working on zombie in that 30 days, so I've got 7 days of zombie posts coming up. I've got stage descriptions. I've got sponsor announcements. If you're at all interested in zombie, guys, pay attention for the next 7 days. Starting tomorrow, I'm gonna do a solid week of zombie posts, and I've got some pretty exciting stuff coming. So you gotta
quit getting banned off Facebook. It's bad for your business.
It's terrible. And I used to never get banned off Facebook, and then I put my FFL business on it, and now I'm getting banned. I think I had 5 30-day bans last year.
So let me tell you. So let me tell you a secret. So I don't know if you've probably done this, right? I went ahead and made my wife on my page. I made my wife an admin. So if I get so I've gone on there and I've made her like an admin. So like anyone that comments or sends me messages, she gets them. She doesn't care about them, but she gets them, right? So if I get kicked off, then I can just go on under hers.
Okay.
So that's a tip.
I started a zombie Facebook page that I have one friend, and it's me. On and my thought was that if I got banned again, I would start blasting stuff from that one.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. But make sure your wife's on that one too. Make sure
all the things.
Go into
all the things.
Go into like the administrator, whatever, and just turn her into an admin. So and give her all the give her everything, everything that you can do, right? Comment, whatever the highest grade, just give it to her and just tell her you're going to get all these notifications, honey. Just ignore them. And then if I get banned, then I can just jump on as you. That's it. I mean, that's exactly what I would do. Now, I don't know where you're at, so I am going to go ahead and just close this. But yeah, if you guys are interested in zombie, check that out. He's going to release a bunch of stuff, and I'm sure we'll have him back on here again this summer before the zombie run and gun. But I just want to say thanks to Tiger for coming on. It was great. We had a good discussion. It was fun. I've especially enjoyed the last few podcasts where we get some differing opinions on things. They've been great. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate everyone listening. If you have a comment or a question, you can always call me. You can text me. Area code 620-794-6223. It's area code 620-794-6223. If you want to help the podcast grow, you can can share it on social media. We're on Spotify. We're on Stitcher. We're everywhere. I've got some other stuff in the works coming up. I'm not going to talk about it now. I get in the bad habit of talking about something before it's actually here, and then it takes me months to complete it and get it going. Not going to do that. I want to generate the interest and keep the interest. I've learned. So everyone have a great week. Now, I've got a permit class coming up this Saturday, but I should be able to get on that evening or this Sunday and get out another episode. And I appreciate everyone signing on and everyone who listens. Thanks. Bye.